All right, man. I want to welcome you guys, everybody out there on Facebook, Ustream, YouTube, and Periscope, to the very first edition of Soul Inspector. Apparently, I'm the Soul Inspector here, so I guess I'll take that mantra. My name's John. I started and founded LDL Paranormal about 8 years ago. I'm going to give you the short history of us. We found I think it was about 2012. We did some boxing work. Now, LDLTV streams boxing, MMA, various stuff we've streamed over the years. And LDL Paranormal was sort of founded when we came back from an event we did in Atlanta, Georgia. And I want to bring on the line right now. This guy's going to be the co-host every Sundays here with me. He's on telephone because we're bringing in another guest on Skype. When we work it all out, we will we'll have him in on Skype from his house out in White Springs, Florida. But his name is Kenny Roberts. Kenny, what's up, man?
How you doing?
Atlanta, Georgia. And I want to bring on the line right now. This guy's going to be the co-host every Sundays here with me. He's on telephone because we're bringing in another guest on Skype when we work it all out. Sorry about that. First show got a couple of technical difficulties, but you're there, right, Kenny?
Yes, sir.
Okay, man. So Kenny Roberts has worked for LDLTV for me for a while doing stuff. So we went to Atlanta for a boxing match back in 2012, I believe it was, from a guy named Rufus Bedingfield in Atlanta. Not the most organized cat on the planet. Rufus. And so we drove up I-75 to get there, and on the way home, Kenny had said to me, hey, man, let's stop at my mom's house, because I had mentioned to him, I've been watching these ghost shows, and specifically Ghost Adventures. Ghost Adventures has been on since like 2006 or 8 or 10, something like that. And they've done, hundreds of videos, hundreds of shows. And I watched them, and I was just a skeptic right out of the gate. But I said to myself, I want to just try and do this one time and see what happens. Let's see what goes on with this whole thing. Let's see if we can get something on one of these devices. But I was total skeptic. So we stopped in White Springs and at Kenny's mom's house. And now I bought one of these devices called a PSP-7. And the PSP-7 is very simply, it's just a radio that scans through frequencies. It's the same as working the dial on your on the old radios. Remember when you turn the dial to it's the same thing as like turning the dial consistently, from 70 hertz to 107 hertz. And you hear all the radio stations in between. You hear the pop, pop, that kind of stuff. This does that same thing. Now, on this particular device, I removed the antenna on it, both internally and externally. So there's a very limited amount of sound that comes through on these stations. And so you simply plug in the output to a speaker. I happen to bring one of these Fostex studio speakers monitors that we have, and there's pretty high power. So it's and it's pretty high fidelity. So it works pretty well. So I plugged it in. We went to the house, and I met Don Weldon, Kenny's stepdad, and his mom, and they were kind enough to serve us lunch. And I said, "Hey, man, can we do this?" And he just looked at us like we were crazy, right, Ken? I mean, he thought we were just. Yeah. He looked at us like we were nuts. And I said, "Well, can we hook it up?" He said, "Yeah, sure. Go ahead, man. Do whatever you want to do. I mean, no problems there." And I said, "Okay." So we hooked it up, turned it on, and within about 30 seconds, we had our very first voice. I'm going to go to clip 1 right now, and you're going to hear that very first voice playing through on this. Go ahead.
What are you guys cackling about? I don't want to talk.
Yeah, hold on one second. I got it. We got to mute Sal. Hang on one second before we play this through. Let me see if we can mute Sal on this broadcast here because he's walking around on his. Let me see if I can just turn the Skype part down. Apologize for this. First show, we got some definitely got some difficulties going here. Okay, let's see if we can turn him down. Let's hit it again. Let's try it one more time, Marina.
Okay.
Yeah, click on it. Let's see if we can hear it. Yeah, I can't hear it. Hold on one second. Yeah, hang on one second. Let me see if I can just get Sal's audio down. I probably can. So, hold on one second. Terrible for our first show, but anyways.
We need some elevator music to play.
Yeah,
while we're doing the
definitely need some
difficult.
elevator music to get this going. But let me see if we can just turn Sal. We can turn Sal down. Okay. All right. I think let's go for that one more time here. Let's go ahead and try that one more time and see if we can click on that clip here and see if we can get it.
You guys find any money in this house anywhere? Is it in the fireplace? What about a heart? Oh, man, that was my melody back. Is that you standing right by us, right here?
That's me.
Is that you?
Okay, so that's our first clip. That we were the first EVP that we ever heard at all was right there, as you guys can hear. And let me just make sure we got some volume here. And then after that, we heard an EVP that said the name Biscup. I'm gonna go ahead and roll that clip just to see if we can do it. Sal, just keep yourself muted for a second while we play this clip. This is the clip where we heard the name Biscup. Go ahead and click on that clip. Okay, that's the actual voice that said the name Biscup the first time. That was pretty incredible when we heard that. I think Kenny will agree with that. When we heard it, we knew we were in the business of.
We were like, "What is a Biscup?"
Yeah, what is a Biscup? I mean, it's crazy stuff. But anyways, so the rest is kind of history. And so we've done over 100 plus investigations over the years here, and we've done. I've done some stuff in upstate New York. We've gone to the St. Simon's Island lighthouse. We did investigations in South Florida, right, Kenny? That apartment you were in was haunted. Your friend, Scott's house, and now his mother passed away, so we got to go back there. But he had his stepdad, or his mom's boyfriend, died in the house. His name was Ginsey. He didn't like
going up for sale.
He didn't like Scott very much, and
No.
but that was very productive. We did a whole bunch of ghost casts from Lori Dawn Langdon's house, and so we've done them all over the place. So I decided to develop this show called Soul Inspector, and we're going to kind of attack the science end of it because that's what we do here. We're not using tons of fancy devices here, but we are using the SB7, and we do have these EMF detectors, electromagnetic frequency detectors. This one's a little bit more expensive. It's called a Mel meter. It's got a thermometer on. This is a little less, but they're pretty accurate. If there's electronic disturbances, it will detect it, and you don't just get electronic disturbances out in the middle of open air. Something has to change. So there's a consistent thing here that happens. Now, my show here, Soul Inspector, our show here, is going to examine some of the investigations that we have done in the past couple of weeks. You know, we're going to do the investigations, come on and do it. I've had a whole bunch of problems editing, as I have with a little bit of the audio tonight, but we are in the LDLTV studio. This is the seat where Nate Campbell sits every week and does the Experience the Galaxy with Nate Campbell. It's on at 7 o'clock on Saturdays and on every fight night. But Ken Roberts is my right-hand man when he does this stuff. He's the owner of Southern Gourmet Spice, where you could get Kenny Bear's Old Florida Barbecue Rub and Seasoning. Quick and cheap plug for him, man. He's a sponsor. He does a lot of this stuff for free. You know, the camera work and all that stuff, and he's been a big inspiration to me. So I want to welcome him to the show, and he will be on video next week. But my special guest tonight is a famous guy, man. He's this guy in the St. Simons area. He needs no introduction. I'm gonna go through the list of all this stuff. This guy. So I'm not sure if I got this exactly right, but I believe he is a former Army paratrooper. He's the man who holds the Guinness Book of World Records for the longest comeback ever. He was a professional fighter. Ended up with a record of 19-2-0 with one no contest. His last professional fight was in 1988. He made a comeback after 26 years and 63 days and set the Guinness Book of World Records by beating Nathan Petty in Fernandina Beach. He's also involved now. He's a retired boxer. He says he's not retired, but he is. He is now a big-time actor. My man's got an IMDb page. He was in Ben Affleck's movie Live by Night. They also used his building, which we're going to talk about in a second, and they threw a man off the building in downtown Brunswick. We'll talk about that in a second. Sal is a super successful restaurateur. He's got the best restaurant in South Georgia. If you haven't been there, it's called Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Ristorante Italiano. He's also a local playwright actor. He's in plays. He takes time out of this incredible day to do this stuff. He's also, you can listen to him every week on the Talkin' Boxing with Billy C show on Talkin' Boxing channel on YouTube. I don't know if I missed anything else, but welcome to the show, our man, Sal Rocky Senecola. Sal, what's up, brother? I don't know if you can hear us or not, Sal, but
He's still muted.
yeah, I think he's. Hang on, Sal, 1 second. Our big introduction got blown up because I don't have your volume up. Hang on 1 second, Sal. We'll get you up there in a second. Yeah, hold on. Hang on 1 second, Sal. Yeah, not great. Hang on. Sal, you there?
I'm here.
All right, sorry about that, brother. It's that first show, premiere show jitters we got going here. We're gonna bring it back into the picture here, and there you are, buddy. I hope you can see me. If you can't see me, we're gonna
see you.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Beautiful.
And I hope you can hear me.
All right. Yeah, we can hear you very well. We got Kenny on the other line with us, Sal. And after that, I don't know if you heard my great big introduction. I'm not sure if you heard that or not.
Thank you.
Okay.
You hump every day.
Yes, sir, man. Yes, sir. So, Sal, here's I want to ask you first. I brought you into this mix because you had told me at length, amongst all the other things that you've done, you had some experience, not just paranormal experience with ghosts, but you had an experience actually doing investigations long before we ever got into it. Tell us what got you into these investigations and what you did.
Well, you know, I went to a real top-rated public high school. In fact, it was ranked in the top 10 of the country back in the late 70s. It was Pascack Valley Regional High. And we had electives that we were able to take our junior and senior year. In fact, we had a flight simulator. I took aeronautics. I flew a plane. I took the written test of pilots. We had a great time, great experience. And one of those other electives I took was called supernatural literature, and it was taught by a gentleman, a professor. His name was Professor White. He was from Scotland Yard. He was from London. He did some work formerly with Scotland Yard on paranormal investigations out in London, and so he had this phenomenal course that I was just more than eager to learn. And through that year of the course, we studied paranormal voices, poltergeists, things of that nature. And wouldn't you know it, like high school kids do, I formed my own little pack with a couple of the students, and we were like the Hardy Boys of Bergen County. We had a couple of girls, a couple of guys, and we would hop in our cars, and we would go to these supposedly haunted houses, including the Amityville Horror.
Where's that? Where is the Amityville Horror? That house, is that in New Jersey somewhere?
No, it's in Amityville, New York.
Oh, it's in Amityville, New York. Dummy, no,
yeah,
should have known that.
But anyway, the other houses we would go that were long abandoned and supposedly haunted and had all kinds of ghost stories, and we would go there and check them out, and we'd take our tape recorders there, and we would listen for paranormal voices that, of course, we couldn't listen to them while we were taping, but when we played the tape recorder back in silence, we heard the voices that were picked up. And that was old school stuff. And once in a while, we'd actually bring in a Ouija board, and that would get a little freaky. And I'm an old-fashioned Catholic boy, so that didn't really go too far with me on some levels. But I am interested in seeing, or learning more about it. And when I had the opportunity to join your team and do some investigation here and there, I was just very excited about doing just that. And when we went to the building in downtown Brunswick that I own, I was very excited. It was from the 1880s and had a lot of history, as you dug up and you knew of.
Yeah.
And I knew that it might be a good foundation or good format to have us do a show.
Well,
and only you know the results.
Yeah, Sal, tell me about how you came to buy the building and when you bought it and all that kind of stuff.
All right. When I had a building up in New Jersey, and as you know, I packed up after 9/11. I worked in the city, and I was with Northwestern Mutual Life at the time, and I had my wife at the time. Now she's my ex-wife, and we had a newborn on the way and a 1-year-old home, and I just was ready to move out of the tri-state area, at least for a little while. And I was looking at Hilton Head, but then a friend of mine who was a consultant to my New York office said, "Hey, Sal, you should really check out St. Simon's Island. It's a great place to raise your children. There's a lot of history here, and you might be one of the damn Yankees we can tolerate." So I actually had a chance to visit. I liked it. Brought my family down, and ultimately I said, "Hey, if my family can come from Italy with nothing, we can come from Jersey with something." So that's how we got here. Now, when I was looking, I didn't know that much of the lay of the land. But when I saw 1313 Newcastle Street, and it was a building that was already sold, and it was listed, and by the time I got to it, it was sold. So I had to contact the new owner and make a little private concession with him, which I did, and I was able to do. But when I finally acquired the building, I was a very proud owner of 1313 Newcastle Street, which was a stellar building. It was phenomenal. It looked great. It looked like $1 million New York building, but of course, it was about a 4,100 square foot building, 2,000 square feet on each floor. It has now about a 3,800 or maybe a 3,000 square foot. What is it called? A parking lot. It was once. It just had a lot of history. It was the old Bijou Theater. And with the Bijou Theater from the 1880s, it had a lot of history. It was once a 10,000 square foot building. There was a great fire decades ago, and half the building burnt down, and they made that the parking lot. They salvaged the other half, and that's the half that I own now, including the parking lot. So.
Did you have any tenants at all? Have you had any tenants when you were there? But
we have it currently. We're looking for tenants right now. I am still repairing some of the damage caused from the last 2 hurricanes we had, but we're all ready to go now. I'm looking for a tenant.
Well, let me tell you something, Sal. You already got a bunch of tenants there, and I'll get into that in a few minutes. But they're not paying rent, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I'll be more than curious to listen about who I have and have to get a lease for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we got a lot. But so the Bijou Theater, there's not tons of it out there of information, but the Bijou Theater in Brunswick has been around for a while. Since what does the plaque on the wall say, Sal? What?
It's registered by the National Historic Society from 1880.
Okay, and
the nationally registered historic building.
So we're gonna pop up on the screen there a postcard we've got of the. No, right here. Just pop up the postcard of the Bijou Theater. Somebody's got a postcard out there. It's up on the screen right now. Of it's an actual postcard because it's written on the back and it's got a stamp on it. It was set in like 1942, and that's a picture of it right there. On the left-hand side, you can see the Bijou Theater and the sign. And when we were looking at the building, Sal showed me the actual anchor points where they held this large sign that said Bijou Theater. So it was both live and silent movies in the 1920s. I'm not even sure what the configuration was because there's an upstairs and a downstairs, but the upstairs has a really beautiful. I don't know what it looks like there, Kenny. Maybe you can tell me. Is that an oak floor that he's got up on the second floor there? It looks original on the second floor.
Yeah, those are original wood floors. In fact, I have there's a funny thing here. We have a gentleman here. He's a big man in the community. In fact, he's the head of the Chamber of Commerce. He's an old Marine, and he trained at the Citadel. And he said that some of the flooring had to be replaced, maybe just a few square feet of patches that I have upstairs. And they actually traced back the barracks at the Citadel to have some of the same trees that they used for the flooring in my building in 1880.
Oh, really?
So they kind of made an arrangement to get some of the flooring from the Citadel barracks to be used as the patch job in some of the floor spots in my building. So again, that's more added history. Who knows what came over Citadel barracks?
Do we know what they did, Sal? Do we know if they showed movies on the second floor, and was there a stage on the first floor? Or?
I was told. Now picture the whole building being like about a 10,000 square foot building. You had a lot of open air space, but maybe you had that first floor. You had the stage or screen, I guess, along Downing Park, which is the wall that we see outside on the parking lot. If we were to open the side door of my building and see the wall right in front of us, that's probably where they had the screen. The rest was theater seats, and of course there was 2 restrooms. And I heard that upstairs was the projectors, and the concession was downstairs, as well as maybe even upstairs. Who knows if they had upstairs seating? I don't think they did, but maybe they did. And that was the configuration. In fact, I would love it. I'd welcome some pictures if anybody had any old blueprints or pictures of the old theater itself inside.
Yeah, there's not a lot online other than this postcard. It says during the 1920s, the Grand Opera House was remodeled and named the Ritz Theater and Movie Company, which was there in Brunswick. And a movie company called the Bijou Theater opened at the south end of Newcastle Street. Arthur Lucas and William K. Jenkins, theater administrators in towns throughout Georgia, owned both the Ritz and the Bijou. William K. Jenkins eventually became a resident of Sea Island, and presently his grandson, Bill Stembler, is proprietor of the Georgia Theater Company, too, the business that operates Island Cinemas on St. Simon's and the movies at Glen Place in Brunswick. So there's some history going back. Ties it directly back to people that are still there right now, which is always kind of cool.
Absolutely. I really, yes, it's got quite a history. And there's been several other owners before myself. And, they have made that building to certain venues. And when I took it, it was remodeled for an A.G. Edwards financial institution outfit, and it was ideal. It has those downstairs offices, the main big large floor offices with the big bay floor, so it had a computer room, and of course on the roof there were satellites and things there. So it was really a neat instrument. And right now it could either be a great place for housing, make apartments, it could be a doctor's office,
a sports bar.
Sports bar,
Sports bar.
maybe. And I also could see doing a large awning over the 3,000 square foot parking lot, making that a beautiful outside bar, patio, band in the summer. And, there's endless inspirational things that could be done with that.
And it could be a home for wayward spirits. And let me tell you something.
I think
it already is.
What you're telling me.
No, it is.
It is. So, Kenny, I just want to ask you. So let's get to the nitty gritty of the investigation. So we went 2 Sundays ago, and I apologize. I normally have these things edited up, but I'm having so many problems. I need to I need to learn Adobe Premiere. I got no faith in Pinnacle, which is the retail version of editing software, and I don't do a lot of complicated stuff. And let me just give you a little insight on if you guys have watched my videos, which are on LDLTV live on YouTube. You can get me on Twitter, LDLTV Inc. On Instagram, LDLTV. You can email me, John at LDLTV. This is all on the Chiron on the side of the, on the right-hand side over here. The Skype phone number is taken by Kenny right now, but next week when Kenny's Skyping in, we're all going to be on Google Hangouts together on video, which is a little easier. Y'all can call in on the studio line, which is 904-302-7220. Don't call in right now because I'll just have to hang up on you because Skype still doesn't take multiple phone calls. On Skype, I'm LDLTV Live 1. Next week, if you want to try and Skype in, we'll take those. And then YouTube, LDLTV Live. And on our website, brand new website out there, which is soulinspector.com. I worked hard on this website. I got my man Marino over here doing the production, the TV production. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty of it. I've kept my investigations fairly simple, as Kenny can attest to. We generally just use this here, PSP7, and this is the warrior that's been through all of them. For some reason, I use the same one. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I've experimented with other devices, computer programs and stuff, but this is an analog device, so I can trust what's coming in and out of it. And I trust myself editing. And what I do when I edit simply is we will play this, turn on this device, and we amplify it. Now, on the ghost hunting shows, Ghost Adventures, those guys take just a small little Altec Lansing speaker. It's maybe a couple of watts, and they carry it around with them. I like to do it with a little more power because the more power you have, the more bandwidth you have, the more sound waves you have to collect. And my success has been with these high-powered speakers, which it's a little troublesome to carry around. But you get a lot more sound and a lot more action. Marino can attest to it. We've done it with both. But this time I decided I wanted to use the big speaker in the PSP7. And we just had our regular meters, which were the Mel meter, which measures electromagnetic waves. And then just this is a garden variety EMF detector you can buy from Ghost Augustine and any of these other places, but it measures electromagnetic. I do a few other things. I mess around with dowsing rods and stuff. I don't even know what I'm doing with these things. I just know they look cool and they spin around. And then some other stuff. We got some pretty good cameras now. I got a little handheld camera that's this Sony Handycam I bought on eBay. Has the lenses removed. All cameras have these lenses that actually filter out the infrared light. They put it in there. If you pull that out, you can then see infrared light. So this is a camera where a guy opened it up and took the infrared filter out, and it's pretty cool. It's handheld. You just have to have infrared light on. Cool for doing these investigations. And this investigation, I could tell, was good just by the number of voices. Now, you don't always hear the voices because when I edit, we take the voice that you potentially hear, and sometimes you can hear what they're saying, and we'll play a clip of what we got. I got one clip at least out of this, which is pretty cool. The video's choppy, but the audio is pretty clear. And then we slow it down. We take the piece, you slow it down anywhere from 10 to 30%, and then you will hear these voices. Now, some people, the skeptics, will say, well, you're just hearing radio noise. Well, first of all, the antenna's taken out, so there's a minimal amount of radio noise, and it's sweeping at 100 milliseconds per sweep. So if you hear a ghost voice and you can measure it in your editor, and it's more than 100 milliseconds, it clearly can't be radio frequencies because the FCC is pretty strict with FM radio. They don't let FM radio stations bleed too far into the next channel. They can in these big markets like New York. They got radio stations one after another. So, and it's sweeping one 0.10 megahertz at a time, so it's 89.1, 89.2, 89.3. By the time you get to 89.3, there's no way it can bleed from the other station. So if your EVP is 5, 6, 700 milliseconds or more, I got an EVP in there that's almost 2.5 seconds. There's no way it's a radio station because it's going way past where the radio station was on the radio. And you can prove it to yourself by turning on the SB7, tune into a radio station, and then move it up to 2 megahertz, and you won't hear anything. You'll just hear no sound. So there's this phenomenon that happens where these voices come in. And I've gotten pretty expert at editing them. I've edited way over 1,000 of these, probably close to like 1,500 or 2,000 of these edits, and they're pretty good. And sometimes they're just phenomenal, as Kenny can attest to when we were in White Springs. I mean, when that first long session that we did the day after the first one, I mean, the voices that came through on there were just crazy. And
Yeah.
I mean, Kenny, I think you agree. What hooked us into the whole paranormal thing was when we heard the name Biskup, and then I contacted a person who does genealogy especially in the state of Florida. And the name is Laverne Tornow. And a couple weeks later, we heard this name Biskup, and I said, "Boy, that's something." I Googled it, couldn't find anything. Well, she got on and actually looked in records in Hamilton County, and found out that a guy named Michael C. Biskup lived in this house, that house in White Springs. So that's what got us wrapped up in it. And that's what we used here at Sal's. And we heard a few voices while we were there, but we heard a lot of activity. And Kenny, as you know, when you hear those kinds of voices, you can tell that the voice is going to end up being something productive, right? You just can't always hear what it's saying. I mean,
Yeah, you can't always tell exactly what they're saying.
Yeah.
You know there's there.
But then the editing comes and you clean it out. And on the editing, I do a couple of things. I take the white noise comes really loud when you play one of these devices, especially with the speaker cranked up. And so when I do the editing, I put a filter in there that takes part of the white noise out, but it leaves the voices in. And I've been perfecting that over the last couple of like maybe 8, 9, 10 investigations, and we got some pretty cool voices on there. But Kenny, what was your impression of this place when we got in there? I mean, what was the vibe that we got?
I'm telling you, from the second that we got out of the truck, I looked down the street, and like I was telling you before, it was just like all I could feel was like this bustling town. There was hardly anybody out on the street, but it just felt like there was a lot going on around there. And then we walked inside the doors, and as soon as we walked inside the doors, I think I told you then too, the only thing that I could say that would describe what I felt was crowded. It felt like a crowded place, like there was a lot of people there.
Yeah, I did too. Sal, I don't know. Are you still there,
Not a
Sal?
bad thing,
I see
a lot of people.
I see you lurking in the dark there, Sal.
I'm here, John. I'll tell you what. I had to plug in my apparatus, and it was draining real fast. So
your battery. Okay, all right.
Juice it up, battery.
Yeah. Okay. Well, but Sal. So prior to us going in there, did you ever have a vibe of people, spirits, anything? Did you ever get the vibe, or were you just not in tune with it?
No, I'll tell you what, John. There has been, like I said, I've owned that building since about 2004, 2005, and I've spent nights in that building, and I've been in the rafters of that building, in the attic spaces, the crawl spaces, and I know that building in every square inch or square foot, and it's quite a history-detailed building, and I can tell you stories about it, and there's been moments where I don't want to say, but I have felt that I was not alone. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, it's I've found all kinds of old artifacts and stuff in the rafters where I'm going to bring you next time we're up there. Up in the attic way. To get to the roof, you got to go through a little bit of a parapet, and to get upstairs, and you got to go through these little hatches. It's not easy, but once you do, you could see all the spars and all the structure, the wood bearings, everything else, and the skeleton of the building. And there are things that have been placed there or displaced there over the years. And like I said, I think our next visit to the building, maybe we'll concentrate on some of the those little rafters and stuff.
Yeah. Well, so my impression before you got there, Sal, we walked around back there, and I actually walked in the building next door. I took a couple steps in, and I'm not like a medium or anything like that. I don't profess to be that. I just think I'm a little, perhaps just a little bit more aware of what's going on around me. But I'll tell you one thing: when I walked in that building next door, it was it was. I'm not gonna say it was creepy, but I'm gonna agree with Kenny 100% when we said that it felt like this is the feeling I got. You know, when you're standing outside in a downtown area and you're walking up to a crowded restaurant, you see a bunch of people, the door opens. Sometimes it might be cold outside if you're in like up north somewhere in a city, and you go out in one of their downtown areas that's got a lot of people there and bustling. That's the vibe that kept coming in and out. And when I went to that place next door, which I don't know what it was, it says liver pills or whatever on the wall there, and the front wall and the back wall are busted out. But I got this overwhelming feeling that I was standing around a whole bunch of people, and I don't recall having had that feeling before, doing any one of these investigations, and certainly when I got up to your place, and now after editing, it's even stronger. Is that there's a whole bunch of spirits or entities in that, definitely in your building and all around that whole area, because just think about it. 60, 70, 80, 100 years ago, that street was bustling. There wasn't TV. People went there for entertainment. The movie house was your TV. Look at what people do now. They're watching TV all the time. They had to go there to watch, to get their entertainment, to get their news, to get whatever it is they had outside of their house, because they didn't have TV. So there was probably, you can imagine there was probably hundreds of thousands of people that went through that building in the 50, 60 years it was open.
John, that building was part of the downtown Brunswick area. My building was one of the anchors there, but that whole strip, don't forget, we're looking back at about 140 years ago when these things were hopping and busy. And Brunswick had very little infrastructure with roadways and stuff too at the time. And Newcastle, or 303, was one of the main arteries. So cars or traffic and people were up and down there. When they built 17 through there, that was one thing. And Newcastle Street, Gloucester was all accessible from 17. But once 95 was built, it took a lot of the luster away from downtown, because other structures were being built closer to 95. But the downtown history and the old photos that I've been able to find and see, in front of my building, there were old parades with floats going by the building, a beautiful things like this and that. Downtown comes alive, and the people have always congregated downtown. And so when you look at that structure and the whole downtown being between 140 and 200 years old, with a slow-growing infrastructure, I'm sure there's been hundreds of thousands and millions of people that have passed through those streets.
Yeah.
And all the buildings you're talking about that were connected to my building, a lot of those were known as brothels upstairs. And, they had all gambling halls, whiskey, shot, and gin joints going on. So, believe me, there's been a lot of people, a lot of history, and a lot of stories I'm sure those walls could have told us.
Yeah, so this week, hopefully I'm going to get the editing done on, and I'm going to put it up on the YouTube page there. I'm just going to call it part one on this. I usually put them all in one video, but I'm going to do part one because I'm having trouble editing it. And I don't know if that has anything to do with the spirits that don't want this thing out. But, boy, there are interesting voices in there, Sal. And here's what I'll tell you. Kenny was working the camera. I just got these new Canon cameras that are infrared cameras. And I just want to tell you two guys, I've got the clip here, but do you guys remember when we were up on the second floor? Now, the activity, there wasn't so much activity right in the front, but in the bathroom in the back, there was a requisite amount of activity. I got an EVP that said, remember when I told you that I felt something pushing on the bottom of my shoe? I never felt that feeling before. It was almost, it was in the second to last room there. I got an
yes, I remember.
I got an EVP that said I stepped on gum. That's what it said right after I said that. Felt like something was there, and it said you stepped on gum or whatever. It said you'll see that in the video. And then we got to that back bathroom there, and then the activity picked up. But as soon as we got upstairs, Sal, as soon as you and I walked up the stairs, wow, did it pick up. And I had this overwhelming feeling, and I don't know if it was just because there was I want to say it was an odor. It was more like it wasn't an unpleasant odor. It was a kind of a pleasant odor, and I don't know what it was upstairs that smells, but it kind of overwhelmed me. And boy, as soon as the voices hit on that, you'll see it in the video on YouTube, but there was some pretty significant, clear Class A EVPs, as good as any as I've gotten anywhere. But
wow,
we did sort of hit the Holy Grail to some extent, because when we went in that back room where the stuff was happening, I felt something touch me on the back of my calf, and I had jeans on, and we actually have a very clear shot of the indentation where it pushed it. But prior to that, I didn't know this. When I was editing, I wasn't watching the video. After I edited the video, guess what I saw? An orb swirled right around my head, right up over the top of it like this, and went whoosh down, and then the thing touched me on the back of the leg. And I just saw that tonight when I was doing the editing.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, pretty awesome. So
well, it's awesome. And I'll tell you what, John, I remember when we first went in there, I was carrying the little meter with my, and I went through out there.
Right there.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's the EMF detector right there.
Yeah, EMF detector. And nothing was happening. It was dark. Then all of a sudden, when we settled into the room, that thing went off like it was maxed out. I mean, the lights were all flashing. The whole thing was going. And that was right at the same time where you said you got caught on the calf or you felt an indentation.
Yeah. I'm going to roll that clip right now. It's about 3 minutes long. I apologize for the video. It's choppy. I'm having these real difficulties with Pinnacle, the software, which I never had before. But the audio is pretty clear so you can hear it. So roll clip 3 and let's play it all the way through and see what happens.
You know my father. You know my father. Does anybody know my father or my mother? Well, it keeps going blurry. This camera keeps going blurry. That's because it's hitting something. Is it total straight out? Yep. Who keeps walking in front of the camera? What's your name? I can see you. You're walking by my meter here. Just walking right around the room like this. Feed it. How many spirits are there in the room right now? Did you used to watch movies in this theater? Wow, something's reading up against the back of my leg. Look at this. It's right here on my left leg. On my left leg, it's pushing up against my pants. It's right here. It's
high. It's 1.1. When you look at it and see what's going on, it's not pushing anymore what it was. It's pushing the pant right there. 1.0. Hey, what's your name is pushing on my pant leg? Shit, something just walked.
All right, sorry about that, man. I usually have high quality clips going on, but it's junk today. I'm having so many problems with this editor, but anyways, and I'll have it cleaned up this week, and you guys can check it out. But you could see the video on there with the indentation on my pants and the orb that went right over my head, which was pretty cool. That's the first time we've had high definition cameras that can see those ghost orbs. And I did. It was pretty cool. Right before the thing touched me on the back of the leg, and those kinds of experiences are always pretty. You can sit and listen to voices and stuff, and hear somebody say "get out" or whatever voice you hear. But when something touches you, and that's not the first time that's happened. I don't know how many times it's happened now, but it makes you sit and think about it. You know what I mean? Yeah, we got Sal there.
Oh, do we lose him?
No, his voice is coming through, but I don't. Hey, Sal, you still there?
I'm here, buddy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry about that. Hang on. Just gotta take the. There you go. Yeah. So and at some point, Sal, we're gonna go back there and do another investigation, but hopefully something's gonna. Maybe you'll get punched in the face or something. I don't know. But anytime you have one of those experiences, it's pretty. It heightens what you're doing. It doesn't scare me anymore when that stuff happens, but I think it's just really cool. It kind of validates what you think is going on there when something like that happens. And the voices were pretty incredible here. I don't have the whole thing edited yet, but I still have like 32 minutes to go, and we're up on that second floor, and I think we're certainly going to hear a whole bunch more stuff. Especially when we went outside and walked to that building next door. Which I may have to sneak up there when you're not around, Sal. Sneak in that building and do something. That building right next door is pretty crazy. I haven't edited the EVPs from there, but got some crazy vibe of that place.
Oh, I can only imagine, John. And that place, the whole strip there is phenomenal. It really is.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I can't wait. That upstairs, those offices. I think we're going to go in that upstairs attic right above those offices, and wait till you hear that.
I can't wait for that.
We'll see if we can.
So what's up in the attic up there? Okay, so if you're watching the video we just did now, it was in the area to the back of where we were and just up. There's like a pull down staircase. So what's up there? I mean, what was the purpose of that?
Well, you have for the upstairs floor, you have in that attic up there, you've got a water heater, and you've got access to the roof by a little ladder and step that's been built up, and of course you open up the cap and you're on some type of you got to climb out, and But meanwhile, that area has been pretty much open. You got all the spars of the building and all the woodwork, you can see the skeleton of the building with all the wood structure and how heavily it was detailed, and they paid attention to detail in the weight and the structure there. It's pretty neat. And same thing on the other side. You have a wide open area that you're crawling on. You really got to be careful because you can easily slip and go through the ceiling. So, we have a few boards put down there to make the maneuvering a little easier, but you do see. I mean, I've found dead animals up there, including bats and whatnot, and
raccoons or anything like that.
Well, I'd say probably some type of animal like a raccoon or squirrels and things there, but mostly I found a lot of bats and and you know what, the structure and what the remains of the bats, they weren't like it wasn't like they were a couple years old. Those were bats that had passed or had died up there. I don't know how, but you know, not years and years ago. But when I found the bats, it was more probably like weeks and months.
Bats in the belfry, huh?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, so the vibe I've got, you know, just in judging this overall, Kenny, chime in if you want. Kenny's done most of the investigations with us. This is definitely a different one, but that feeling of multiple people being in there, I don't recall being in another place where we got that feeling that there were multiple people. Most of the places we've got, it's a couple of people. Maybe in White Springs there was several people there, but not a lot. But this place you just kept getting that feeling like you were crowded in there, right?
Yeah, it didn't feel that way.
I
White
agree
Springs,
with you.
You know, there was a lot going on, but that's it felt like a bar. You know, you're
Right.
walking through a bar and you're just bumping off of people.
Exactly,
You know?
like a bar, right? Like a crowded downtown bar. You know, it's kind of funny, Sal. You walk outside there at night, and you when you walk out on the street, you know, they're rebuilding Brunswick, and we keep showing that postcard there. And the street doesn't look a whole heck of a lot different, except it just doesn't have cars from the 1940s on it. But you look down the street and you go, wow. You know, it's a very easy picture in your mind to say, man, this was a bustling, hustling place. It's a cool downtown. It's got these old buildings. There's got a lot of people have fixed them up and put restaurants there. When we drove back out, we saw a couple restaurants that are open. But you can just picture it. You close your eyes and you picture it in the 1940s or 30s or 20s. And on that night, whatever night we were on, Sunday night, there were probably hundreds of people on that street walking up and down it. Going to dinner, going to the movies, going to the theater. I mean, that's what you had to do. You know, and that's like you look and you don't see the people, and it's kind of creepy. You're just saying, where are all the people? You know,
Well, you hit on the head. That's the kind of downtown it was. You know, you had the ladies walking with umbrellas and gentlemen with their top hats, and you know, they lived the classic life back then.
Yeah, so you wonder what the vibe is like. So, you know, on this show on Soul Inspector, you know, you take a lot of liberties in presuming at what you're hearing or what you know. I'm just telling you first off, for anybody that's watching this, that I don't know what I'm hearing. All I know is I'm recording it with devices, I'm editing it on electronic computers, and I'm playing it back so I can hear it again. And there's voices, there are orbs. We're feeling stuff happen there. I don't know what it is, but it's interesting. At some point in time, you know, down the road, serious scientists are going to figure out exactly what's going on, whether it's afterlife or it's just energy that came from that place. I mean, certainly if you go with the energy theory, man, there's, like you said, Sal, there's probably millions of people walk through that downtown. How many people went through that building? Oh, probably hundreds of thousands of people went through that building.
Oh yeah,
you know, and it was an entertaining place. It was a fun place. I mean, I think about the places I was growing up, like the bars we went to when we were kids. Those places were kind of magical when you were 18, 19 years old. You went there and you partied and you met girls, and that's the same thing here. So maybe they died and they want to go back to what made them happy or something. The vibe I got on these spirits so far is generally pleasant, generally cool. Yeah, I got a lot of names. Yep. I got a very super clear name in one of the EVPs. Veronica, what did I say the last name was? Veronica Prayer. Prayer. Very clear EVP. You'll hear it in the YouTube video. It's not often that you get a first and last name. There's a couple of more names on there, but that's the one. I looked it up, and there's some girl named Veronica Prayer that lives in Georgia, and she's 32, so I don't know what it has to do with her, but that's a really super clear name to be saying. First and last name, and it's the same voice. So it's interesting, and I've had that before. I had an EVP. I can't remember where it was, Kenny. It was one you and I did, and I got the first and last name, and I looked up the person, and I sent them an email on Facebook, but they never responded. They were probably pretty creeped out that we heard their voice, but it was a distinct voice. So it's interesting when you hear people, you know, and sometimes you wonder if it's people saying their voice because they're trying to be recognized. It's a spirit, it's residual energy. I don't know what it is, but I always find it really fascinating when you get those voices with names that are really clear. And you look them up, you don't know who they are. I mean, it started with the name Biscup, and that one turned out to be gold, as you know. That was a real guy that really lived, and
lived in that house.
And lived in that house, and we didn't know it. We knew nothing about it, and it was pretty cool that we figured it out and kind of figured out what his thing was. And listen, if he really did get shot in the house, as the EVP said, just think about it. If you were 19 years old and you got shot and your spirit was there and people came back asking your name, you'd probably want to tell somebody about it. There wasn't exactly 911 and CSI back then. They probably buried him in the backyard or dragged his body out dumped him in the Suwannee River or something. Who knows? But the guy's trying to find his way back home, wherever it was. Who knows what everybody's story is. There might have been hundreds of people that worked at the Bijou Theater, somebody that had a job there, a projectionist or a porter or somebody there that was employed there, that was their job, their livelihood, and they died and their spirit migrated to it. I just got the feeling
all the actors, if they had stage theater going on there.
Yeah, and there was a lot. I think a lot going on there, Sal. And I think when we go back, we're going to find way more stuff now. I just want to be armed with the names so we can actually talk with the people. But we did get some real responses when you started talking about your father a little bit. You actually said, "Did you know my father or my mother?" And the voice, I got a Class A EVP that said, "I didn't," like twice. Pretty clear.
Wow.
Yeah, we found those kind of responses to be pretty cool. The other thing I've had great response with that I sort of discovered is putting pictures up on an LCD screen seems to get a real response. I've done a couple of videos. If you've looked at my YouTube page, you'll see them. I might bring an LCD screen and bring some pictures of people and see if we can solicit a response. It's LCD screens it seems to work with. Like, you get a response. You get people... Kenny, as you know, we heard responses when you asked who the president was, and you get all kinds of different responses. It's not always the current president. We've gotten presidents that were long ago. In White Springs, we got what was the president's name in 1920? I forget the guy's name now. He was only president for like 2 years. That was a crystal clear one, and then various other presidents' names. Stuff that's time stamped and maybe something that they saw or experienced. Got that happening a lot too. So we're going to do some more of that when we come back to Sal's, and we're going to go up in that attic. I think, Sal. I don't know what we're going to find up there.
Well, we're going to definitely have to go up there and be cautious, but I'll be hopefully giving you guys a thorough guided tour, and who knows, right up the road. There's a classic old cemetery, too, right off of 341. I think you have some headstones from the 14th or 15th century buried there. I think it says 1502.
Well, you got one guy that we know, James J.S. Peterson. He's the guy that owned that antique store that's on Gloucester Street that we investigated 2 years ago, and we definitely got his voice. And he's got a prominent grave right in the front. There was a grave site for African Americans, and then a kind of a white graveyard. They separated them. There was segregation, and even in the graveyards. But he's got the most prominent one with him and his wife, right at the front of that. I don't know what the street is there. It's the street that's kind of parallel to the port.
Yeah.
But and we had great luck there. Kenny and I actually did cemetery investigation just 2 months ago, and we didn't get any voices at all, which a lot of people have told us that. Right, Kenny? I mean, we didn't hear anything. The only voice we heard was right near the church. In where was that church?
That was Falling Creek Church.
Falling Creek Church, right? That's the only voice we heard. But we went to 3 really old cemeteries with grave sites from the 1700s, Kenny. How far back? And no voices at all. And that's what paranormal people have said, that it's not always great. I can't say the same for Christ Church in St. Simon's, though, Sal. That I am going to take you there, because that one. JJ went there with me, and our best voices were when we had the SB7 off. The over-the-air voices were crazy. Like, it was guys whispering right into our ears. We couldn't hear it, but when we played it back, the voices were crystal clear, like right there. We're going to go up there and do that Christ Church again. I'm going to take you to that lighthouse one more time, too, Sal.
Yeah, love to.
Yeah, it was good stuff. Good stuff. But, I apologize. My first show was supposed to have a really good video here, and I totally blew it out the water here. I wasn't able to edit the whole thing, and I normally edit these without any problems, but these new cameras have these MXF files, that are kind of difficult, I guess, for this Pinnacle to handle. So I wasn't able to edit them great, but I'll have it up and running. Hopefully next week it'll be up on YouTube. You can check us out on Twitter at LDLTV Inc., on Instagram LDLTV. Email me, John at LDLTV.com. Next week, you can call in 904-302-7220, LDLTV Live 1 on Skype if you want to Skype in, and LDLTV Live on YouTube. And the website is soulinspector.com. I want to thank both you guys, Sal Rocky Senecola, and my my co-host, Kenny Roberts, Kenny the Terminator Roberts. He's going to be terminating some more. Sal, I really appreciate you taking some time. I know you got the restaurant open today, and on this rainy, kind of crazy, weird night. It's kind of a creepy, weird, crazy night here. I can hear the rain hitting the studio roof here for our first show. Had a couple of technical difficulties. We get them all worked out here pretty soon, and next week we'll have probably good video. Have Kenny on Skype. If Sal wants to Skype back in, we'll do the YouTube the YouTube live in, so we can put everybody in at the same time. And anybody else wants to see the replay, we'll edit it up and put the replay of this show. We'll get better videos for you next week. Don't worry, we got tons in the can. But Sal, want to thank you, buddy, for taking time out of your day. Kenny, thank you too for all the work that you do. Hey, listen, check out SouthernGourmetSpice.com for Kenny Bear's Old Florida Barbecue Rub and Seasoning. You can see all the commercials that Marino stars in on SouthernGourmetSpice.com. And check out the best restaurant anywhere south of the border, man. Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Ristorante Italiano, man. It's unbelievable, this place. The pizza, we had a pizza after
World
the
best.
investigation, and that pizza is outstanding, to say the least. The best pizza you'll ever have is the truth. All you guys that are watching us tonight on YouTube, Ustream, and on Facebook Live, check us out next week, same time, same place, 7 o'clock on LDLTV, LDL Paranormal, soulinspector.com. Thanks a lot, guys. We will see y'all next week.
John, thank you.
All right.
Have a good one.